everyone. Thank you for being with us today, this morning, on our first executive breakfast forum of AmCham Ethiopia. We have the new commercial law of Ethiopia that has been unanimously approved by the parliament. So we're gathered today to actually talk about the context generally from a commercial code of Ethiopia.
And the first important legislations were enacted right at the beginning of 1942. And one of those is the establishment of the judiciary, which delegated the entire authority of running the Ethiopian judicial system to the British, and which lasted up to 1965. And next to that was the enactment of legal systems. The legal systems were to be enacted into law books, and the issue was electing between the so-called common law system and civil law system. The committee that was organized to oversee the codification of the Ethiopian legal system, 28 of them, 12 foreigners, 16 Europeans, have to sit down and deliberate on this. And then they finally decided, okay, let's go for the court system, but the court system will not be either British or French. It will be eclectic, meaning combining the best of all these things. And therefore, they also collected the judgments given in Ethiopia, 1,000 of them, and they went through them, and they started to discover the content of justice in Ethiopian perspective. And they came in a very good conclusion, and now they embarked on enacting, writing down the laws, the codes. And the first one of those very important codes is the commercial code.
The next phase of our discussion, maybe Ato Muratav, can you get into and dive into the key departures? What are the changes, and how should the business community identify or utilize these key changes from your perspective?
Let me give you some information on what are the major departures from the previous commercial code under the revised commercial code. The 1960 commercial code had 5 books. So now the revision is on book 1, book 2, and book 5. The first major departure is the expansion of commercial activities. If you check the previous commercial code, under Article 5, it used to list restrictively it used to list trade activities. But the new revised commercial code expanded this list very much. So when we go to our regulators, starting from the Ethiopian Investment Commission, and ask for business license or investment permit, the restriction is now very much relaxed. Startups and SMEs, the formal regulatory framework is too much work. So the new commercial code makes an exception to that effect and is more friendly for SMEs, you can say. Another major departure you have in the revised commercial code is the recognition of holding companies. This especially, it was not a big problem for the FDI community, but for local businesses, when you expand, you have a real estate company, you have a construction company, you have a trading company, but how are you going to handle the corporate governance of these different businesses? It would have been much easier if you have a holding company. And that was a very big gap in the previous commercial code, but under the new code, a holding company concept is recognized, and this is to the relief of front runners, local businesses.
Tamasken, is there anything that you've experienced on your day-to-day interaction in terms of facilitating investment in Ethiopia? how has the law and the commercial code restricted or limited the investment potential that you've observed over the years?
So for us at the Ethiopian Investment Commission, of course, oftentimes investors ask that our ease of doing business ranking is not good. And at the same time, but when we ask them back saying that, but still Ethiopia is a very top investment destination, they say that if we improve some of the things, we could have done more. We really encourage companies to clearly understand departures in every legal change, in every policy change. For that, platforms like AmCham and other investors forums are very important to interact with government bodies, to somehow entertain changes and suggest and somehow even coerce government to further see transformations, changes in the laws and practices of government bodies.
We as a foreign investment group, with all of this good news of change, how do we respond to that? What's the best thing that we can do to help you feel comfortable that we're not here to take over the business, that we're not here to hurt the local private sector? We're actually here to help businesses grow and companies grow and people create jobs, which is really, I'm sure we all know, priority number one for this country right now is job creation. So what's your advice to us? I know you hear a lot of our advice to you, but as you're rolling these changes out, what can we as Renew Investment Advisors, which are desperately trying to back local companies grow, what can we do to help you roll these changes out more effectively so you feel confident that the private sector is here to be your friend?
So such kind of thinking, philosophies need time to change. So laws are here, implementation of them may take some time. Like for example, establishing a well-functioning institution needs a long time effort, capacity building, hiring professionals that can deliver what is on the law. So it may take time, but we are on the right trajectory.
Are holding companies really actually going to be useful under this new code? I was talking to one lawyer and they were saying that the companies, I think, under the holding company would end up losing their limited liability status if they were PLCs, and you would have joint liability across all those companies, which sounds pretty worrying.
The holding company structure, as I told you, we are also still learning this thing and how practically it's going to be implemented. But what is provided in the draft code is the holding company would not be an operating company. Say, I know Dangote's business. They have a cement plant that is an operating company. But if Dangote tomorrow wants to expand its business and engage in other sectors of the economy, the need may come to have a holding company. So that holding company would be governing the business of the subsidiary operating company. So this is what I can say.